Hello everyone, good evening and welcome back to our channel. My name is Amir Poonawala. I am a licensed immigration advisor for New Zealand and migration agent for Australia here at G.E.M.S International. Our office is based in Auckland, City of New Zealand. Please click the subscribe button in the comment section of this video and smash the bell icon so you can get regular updates about immigration related issues, breaking news, and how to apply for different visas. Thank you. Please do read our legal disclaimer provided again in the comment section before watching this video. Thank you. Since last year, we have been bombarded by New Zealand employers with queries around what is the new employer accreditation policy and the process involved in making an accredited employer work visa application, mainly for offshore migrant workers. Now, even though this subject is quite vast, we have decided to make a video to touch the subject matter briefly in order to help you get some basic understanding about this category of visa. Okay, so let us now look at some key dates. The accredited employer work visa will come into force from the 4th of July 2022. Apart from this important date, there are some other key dates that you will need to remember, especially if you are an NZ employer and are into hiring migrants from overseas. So, employer accreditation applications will open from the 9th of May 2022 for New Zealand employers, obviously. And at the same time, the job check applications will also open. You must also remember that the essential skills work visa applications will close on the 3rd of July 2022, which means you can no longer apply for an essential skills work visa for anyone. Followed by the opening of accredited employer work visa applications from the 4th of July 2022, as stated earlier. So every New Zealand employer with effect from the 4th of July 2022 who is wanting to hire migrant workers must be accredited, as I said, to hire migrant workers from overseas on an accredited employer work visa. So now this does not mean that if you are hiring a migrant who is holding some form of open work visa, like a partnership based open work visa or a post study open work visa or a working holiday work visa, you don't need to be accredited if you are hiring somebody who is a holder of um, one or these other types of open work visas. It is very specifically mentioned that if you are wanting to apply for an accredited employer work visa for a migrant worker, then you need to hold an accreditation, and this will be issued by Immigration New Zealand, subject to meeting the requirements of this particular application, which we will look at later in this video. Okay, so let's simplify this process of accreditation. There are basically three steps to hiring a migrant worker on an accredited employer work visa. The first step being the accreditation part, wherein a New Zealand employer will have to apply for an accredited employer. This is an application made to Immigration New Zealand, and following the successful outcome of this application, the second step is the job check and the migrant check. You can also apply for accreditation and job check from the 9th May 2022 onwards. So let's take a brief look at getting accredited as a New Zealand employer. If you are an employer who wants to hire migrants on the accredited employer work visa, you first need to gain accreditation. This is a new type of accreditation you will need to apply even if you have accredited under the previous system. So this is an important point. You can apply for a different level of accreditation depending on how many migrants you want to hire. So we will touch this later in this video. Some business models will have to meet specific accreditation requirements. All employers will need to meet standard requirements, including showing you are a genuine, compliant business and commit to activities to settle migrants and minimize exploitation. An application fee is payable to make an employer accreditation application to Immigration New Zealand. Now, you must remember that being an accredited New Zealand employer, you need to make some commitments, and this will vary depending on the level of accreditation you need and the application that you eventually make. So there are different levels of accreditation depending on how many accredited employer work visa holders you would like to employ. Okay, so there are two types of accreditation applications that a New Zealand employer can make. The first type is the standard one. The standard one will apply to those New Zealand employers who want to hire migrant workers um, on an accredited employer work visa up to five workers. So this is the ceiling for the standard accreditation. The second type of accreditation is the high volume uh, type, in which if you are wanting to hire more than five, that is above five, then this is the type of accreditation you should go for. Now, this only includes migrants on the accredited employer work visas. So please do not mix other type of work visa holders with this category. Migrants on other types, for example, like I said earlier, working holiday visas, partnership-based open work visas, post-study open work visas are not counted towards this total. The accreditation must be held by the direct employer named on the migrant's workers' employment agreement. Franchisees and employers wanting to place migrants on an accredited employer work visa with controlling third parties, including labor hire companies, must meet additional requirements. So the minimum accreditation requirements are: all employers wanting to hire migrants on this type of visa must meet the standard accreditation criteria. You must hold a New Zealand business number and link this information along with your application. Normally, most businesses do have a New Zealand business number in New Zealand, so that should not be a problem. The second important criteria is that it should be a genuine business. It must be a genuinely operating business, and it should also be registered as an employer with the Inland Revenue Department. Your business must be in a sound financial position. This means the business must be profitable before depreciation and tax, or have positive cash flow, or have sufficient capital and or external investment or funding, for example from a founder or parent company, or have a plan to ensure the business remains viable. Businesses operating for less than 12 months must provide evidence they are in a sound financial position. So this is something to remember. Most other employers will not need to provide evidence upfront. If you are a partnership or sole trader, you must not be bankrupt or subject to no asset procedure. Um, and all these documentations will obviously be verified and checked by Immigration New Zealand when you submit your application to become an accredited employer. So please bear that in mind. You should also not have any recent history of regulatory non-compliance. You must be prepared to declare you and your significant office holders are not on the Labour Inspectorate stand-down list. You and your significant office holders have not recently been convicted of specific immigration-related offences resulting in a fine or imprisonment. If you have, you will not be eligible for the accreditation for a set period of time. The length of the stand-down period will depend on how serious the offence is. Once the stand-down period has ended, you must show you have addressed the non-compliance issues and taken steps to make sure that it does not happen again. And there are heaps of other criteria to be met. So I don't want to run through all that. But in a nutshell, Immigration New Zealand will ensure when you make this application that you are a New Zealand employer of good standing and have the required uh, financial means to be able to uh, successfully receive this accreditation. Now, let's take a look at the accreditation duration, which means the duration for which your accreditation will remain valid. So, once you have made this application and if it is approved, you will receive an accreditation for initially for 12 months. At renewal, franchisees and employers placing migrants on accredited employer work visas with controlling third parties will get accreditation for a further 12 months. All other employers will get accreditation for 24 months when they renew. So this is something to remember. Okay, so let's assume that your accreditation application has been successful. So what happens next? The first thing that you need to do is passing the job check. So once you are accredited, you need to apply for a job check for each job you want to hire a migrant worker for. You can only hire a migrant worker on an accredited employer work visa for a job if it has been passed if it has passed the job check and the job check confirms the job whether the job pays the market rate or not, the terms and conditions comply with New Zealand employment laws and standards, and you have done a labor market test if you need to. If you do not hire the migrant, you can offer the job to another suitable applicant. You do not have to redo the job check. So, when it comes to the labor market test, you may need to check that there are no New Zealand citizens or residents available for the job by advertising, and this is known as the labor market check or test. A labor market test shows that you have advertised the job vacancy, you have listed the vacancy with the Ministry of Social Development if the job pays below the median wage, and suitable New Zealanders have had the chance to apply for this role before overseas migrant workers are hired in that particular role. You will also need to provide specific information about the job including pay rate and required skills and experience, a proposed employment agreement, and where and where a labor market test is required. Evidence of it being completed, including evidence of advertising and a vacancy number from the Ministry of Social Development if required. An approved job check is valid for 6 months or until the employer's accreditation lapses, whichever is earlier. Whether you need to do or undergo a labor market test or not depends on how much you are paying, where the job is, and what the occupation is. Now, employers must always remember that whatever pay you are offering for a particular occupation to a migrant worker, regardless of the job's conditions and location, you must pay at least the current market rate. This is a very, very important point to remember. And for multiple positions for the same job can be included in one job check if the job details are the same. For example, they have the same occupation, pay range, region or city and minimum job requirements and are all covered by the same advertising. If a labor market test is required under those circumstances. So, if the job passes the job check, you can invite the migrant worker to apply for a visa to work in that job. Immigration New Zealand will check if they meet the requirements for the accredited employer work visa, including that they have the skills and experience you have advertised for. This is another critical area you must remember. Migrant workers or employers pay for this check. Okay, so that's all for today on this topic. Like I have always said, please remember that due to the tricky and complex nature of various visa and accreditation applications, we highly recommend to all our viewers, especially the New Zealand employers, that you avail professional help from a licensed immigration advisor. At G.E.M.S International, we not only provide you with professional help but expert advice, and you can reach us on our contact numbers provided in the comment section, and we will be glad to assist. Thank you once again for watching our video. We hope you have found it useful. We will be back with another interesting video on how to apply for various other visas. So please subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned by pressing the bell icon and smash the like button if you have liked this video. Until then, goodbye, stay safe, see you next time.